Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is David French, and I'm here tonight to provide a staff presentation for the recommendation of a city resolution to implement a reduction of speed limit in residential areas to enhance pedestrian safety. Before we go through the recommendation, I want to first provide some context on the issue. The city has been tracking pedestrian safety through the California Highway Patrol's data system SWTRS, which stands for Statewide Integrated Traffic Record System. This data can be tracked all the way before the city's incorporation in 2011. And over the years, the city has seen influxes of the number of incidences involving pedestrian bicyclists. However, over the last 2 years, we have seen a spike of 52% of instances involving pedestrian and bicyclists. So from a population standpoint, the city of Jurupa Valley makes up about 4% of the Riverside County. However, the numbers that show the city actually makes up about 7% of the incidences involving pedestrian and cyclists combined, and those are the numbers you are reflecting in front of you. And due to this number and that sudden spike over the last 2 years, the city made a decision to create a pedestrian safety task force to provide policy alternatives and a recommendation to implement throughout the city. The task force is made up of agencies directly involved in pedestrian safety, such as the city, Riverside County Sheriff, Jurupa Area Recreation and Parks District, and the Jurupa Unified School District. Tonight's report will be presented by city staff on behalf of the task force, and we have Stephen Ochoa, Beatriz Palacio, who will be presenting on the policy alternatives, and Madeline Torres, who will be presenting on the policy recommendation. I will now pass it over to Stephen Ochoa to go over the first alternative.
Hello, City Council and Mayor. The first alternative policy that was considered was to replace all street lights at intersections with LED 18,000 lumen capable lighting, as well as to install flashing red LED stop signs at intersections controlled by stop signs. Installation will occur as current fixtures need to be replaced due to their becoming worn and weathered. The expected outcomes are to make pedestrians, cyclists, and joggers more visible during low light hours, as well as reducing non-motor vehicle involved accidents as a result of brighter lighting. Lastly, to reduce injuries and deaths as a result of less frequent activities. The National Highway Traffic Safety Association stated that 80% of pedestrian, cyclist, and jogger accidents occur at nighttime hours. The city of Jurupa Valley is known by residents for having dark streets, as Jurupa Valley is newly developed with many areas considered rural. The Federal Highway Traffic Administration stated that in traffic studies that they have conducted in cities throughout the United States, they have measured a 42 to 81% traffic accident reduction when brighter lighting is installed. Next will be Beatriz Palacios.
Hello, Mayor and Council members. The second policy alternative that was considered was the implementation of mandatory upgrades to sidewalks and bike lanes when making any alterations or improvement to the roadway. With this, we expect to improve pedestrians and cyclist safety, reduce incidents with well-designed sidewalks and bike lanes, and increase walkability and safer spaces for bikes. Bike lanes will act as traffic calming mechanisms. Usually when drivers encounter bike lanes, they tend to moderate their speed due to the presence of cyclists. By reducing vehicle speed, bike lanes directly contribute to lowering the risk of severe pedestrian injuries. Implementing traffic calming measures like bike lanes not only address pedestrian safety, but also promotes active transportation to our city. Other cities that have added bike lanes have seen a significant drop in crash rates. And this concludes this alternative. I will now be handing over to Madeline Torres to present the recommended policy. Thank you.
Hi, members of the City Council and Mayor. The third and highest priority recommendation our department would like to make is the reduction of the speed limit in residential zones from 25 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour. According to a study from the National Traffic Safety Board, a pedestrian's chances of suffering either severe injury or death increases from 25% when struck by a vehicle traveling at 20 miles per hour to over 50% when struck by a vehicle traveling 30 miles per hour. And based on this, as well as guidelines that are published by the National Association of City Transportation Officials on both conflict density and activity levels, our city's traffic analysts determined a speed limit of 20 miles per hour to be the safest and the most appropriate in residential areas. Full implementation of this citywide speed limit reduction will occur once existing speed limit signage and any pavement markings on residential streets are updated. And our department plans on conducting an after study to evaluate whether the drivers are actually obeying the new speed limit and determine if the new speed limit is really effective at reducing the severity of collisions and incidents throughout the city's roadways. This recommendation will involve installing 260 new speed limit signs, 10 driver feedback signs, and approximately $12,000 in labor. And this leaves us with a total financial impact to the city of $97,100. Our department is hopeful that this recommendation will reduce the frequency and severity of car crashes and ideally reduce the number of overall driving violations. And we're optimistic that this will help us hit our pedestrian safety initiative goal of achieving zero traffic related deaths or injuries in the neighborhoods by 2030.
So thank you, Stephen, Beatrice, and Madeline for presenting. As Madeline just went through, the recommendation before you is to adopt a resolution which will reduce the speed limit in residential areas from 25 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour. And at this point, we will be more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you.